and his entire family. That is none other than Dr. Bilal Philips, who's most known of being Abu Amina, Dr. Bilal Philips. Assalamu alaikum and welcome on Huda TV, Dr. Bilal Philips. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I am fine, in good health in spite of
Well, I
the
cannot hear you.
threat of the coronavirus.
I cannot hear you. Let me confirm that the sound is okay. We might have a little issue with the sound. One second. I want to make sure that the sound is okay.
Okay, can you hear me
I cannot
now?
hear you, Dr. Bilal.
Really? Everything was fine before.
Okay. Well, I'll try to hear you from here, inshallah. Now we can talk. Assalamu alaikum,
Can you hear
Doctor.
me okay?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you now, Dr. Bilal. MashaAllah.
All right. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First of all, Ramadan Mubarak to you and to your family.
And Ramadan Kareem to you and yours.
Barakallah feek. And welcome on Huda TV screen, your second home.
My pleasure. I'm only sorry we're not able to have done much more with Huda.
Well, inshallah, after this interesting time that we're going through is over, we'll have plenty of opportunities, inshallah, to work together. It's an honor to have you, Dr. Bilal, today. And a lot of people are very interested to present questions to you and learn more about your personal, very interesting life. Beginning with Dr. Bilal. In Islam, how old are you? In Islam, since you've accepted Islam.
Well, I don't keep track of all of that, but let's say that I accepted Islam in 1972. You can do the mathematics.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So 1972,
About
that is
50,
49
50,
years, MashaAllah.
yeah.
MashaAllah, Allahu Akbar.
Alhamdulillah.
And generally speaking, how old are you, Ya Sheikh Bilal?
I'm 72.
MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. To be honest with you, every time I meet you, even you, I know you personally and I know very well, but I think you're exaggerating. Maybe you're not even, maybe your actual age is 49.
Well, inshallah, may Allah give us all long lives in righteousness, inshallah.
Ameen, ameen. In a couple of minutes, because I know your time is very precious and we're approaching iftar time at your end, I think we all want to know, in brief, how did you come to Islam?
Well, just to keep it short, as you said, in brief, because otherwise people can watch the whole story on YouTube. I did a lecture in Australia some number of years back, which gives the whole story. But basically, I began to read about Islam after leaving Christianity, becoming a communist, and being active, politically active. Then I found Islam after realizing that communism really wasn't the answer, that those answers that I was looking for changing society, bringing about a better world, they were found in Islam. So at the point where it was introduced to me, I began to read, and from reading, I became convinced. You know, the book of Muhammad Qutb, sorry. Muhammad Qutb wrote a book called, in English, it was called Islam, the Misunderstood Religion. And in Arabic, I think what do they call it now? Shubahat Hawla al-Islam.
No.
My memory is still.
MashaAllah.
Uh,
That's a
so
very
that book, in it, he compared the different systems. He compared politically, capitalism, communism, Buddhism, all the various isms that were out there. He
mm-hmm.
compared them and basically showed that all of them had good, and all the good that they had was found in Islam, but they all had also, negative and weak elements, which were all missing from Islam.
Mm.
So it is as if Islam gathered the best that was out there, and Alhamdulillah, it covered everything that human beings need. And naturally, being from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's what it should be. So it was a very short few steps after that to convert to Islam directly, and learn the prayers and start to practice Islam.
Sheikh Bilal, a lot of people, not only those who accepted Islam through reverting when they grow up, but also many people, vast majority of Muslims were born in Islam. They live and die without leaving a real fingerprint, something to be remembered with. And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, إن الله إذا أحب عبدا استعمله. قالوا وكيف يستعمله؟ قال يوفقه لعمل صالح ثم يقبضه عليه. The way I look at you, mashallah, that alhamdulillah, you're one of those whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has utilized you to serve this deen, and hopefully this is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. One of your very amazing work is the Islamic Studies 1, 2, and 3. Am I correct? I know this is kind of old, but it's very
It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe you didn't catch book number
No,
4.
I
It was
didn't. I
printed a
didn't.
few a bit later.
When I started,
There's 4. There should have been 5 and 6 also, but I got involved in so many other things. They remained
it was only
unpublished.
1, 2, and 3 because I stated them in my schools in the States and Texas. So I made the students study them for 3 years. They were amazing, mashallah, la quwwata illa billah. Especially, they were produced during a time where we literally did not have anything similar to it. Nowadays, mashallah, online there is plenty, but still, your work is very unique. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. On behalf of Allah knows how many thousands of people have benefited out of this work. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, especially the youth, the youngsters, because investing in the youngsters is the greatest investment. I met you a couple years ago in Malaysia, and you were about to launch a project of making curriculums even for physics, chemistry, biochemistry. And I said, are you sure? So what would make you even go into this area, into science and applied sciences? And as far as I remember, that you're talking about comprehensive curriculum in every subject. Am I correct?
Yeah, actually, this is an idea which which I had from back in the 90s. I was working with a team of educators from across the Muslim world. Yusuf Islam was, one of the key figures, and Maulana Adam Ali from South Africa was another key figure. And we had been there studying about how to develop, useful curriculum for Muslim schools globally.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that the focus had been on the Sirah, on the Islamic studies, all the time. And I felt that we needed to go beyond the Sirah. I mean, and basic fiqh and hadith, tafsir. We needed, because so much had already been written. But, we needed somehow to bring this knowledge into the other subjects, so that all the subjects should be taught from an Islamic perspective. So what I did back in the 90s, between 1996 and 99, in 3 years, I produced a series for the teaching of English. It was called the Iman Reading Series. It's still there. Many copies were made, many thousands of copies reprinted. It's still being distributed in the States. Maybe it didn't reach your school, whatever, but it was all over. It was, you're using it here in the Gulf, in the East, in Malaysia, in the Philippines. It went all over. But the point is, what I did is I took a curriculum because I believe in not reinventing the wheel. You know, if the wheel is out there already, you know, we can work with that. So I took up a series which was called the Lady Bird series from the UK, you know, which was most commonly used in schools, international schools, etc. I taught in an international school for about 10 years in Riyadh. So I took their series from preschool, you know, that's pre-kindergarten, then 2 levels of kindergarten, grades 1, 2, and 3. And the series of books that were developed is 56 books we developed, which use the English, the level of English that were in those books. But I had working with me a sister from the US, Sister Amida, who specialized in early childhood education. So we made sure that the language used was suitable for the kids, because in the 90s, there were a number of books which were produced by the Islamic Foundation in the UK, and they were done by a number of well-known Jamaati Islami scholars, etc. They had written, but these books, though the design and the colors and pictures and everything were very suitable for children, the content wasn't, because they were these are professors, PhDs, and they're trying to write for kids. It didn't work, you know. So these schools, though they produced so many of these books, they were the people who were setting up the Islamic schools during the 90s, the 80s and 90s. They said we can't use these books. So I understood that the language was critical. We had to make sure that the language matched the level of understanding of the children. And of course, this had already been worked out amongst the, you know, in the Western society. They've got lists you can find which says, you know, for grade 1, your vocabulary should be between these words and these words. Yes. You know, you should not go beyond these. You know, and so I utilized that and developed the series. And alhamdulillah, even in many schools, Islamic schools around international schools, people used it for Islamic studies, because Islamic studies books were so bland and, you know, just written material, not attractive, because I developed all the artwork for it. I worked with, you know, various artists, and, you know, had to be, because some of them were non-Muslims, I had to be on their backs, making sure that they, you know, they presented the material properly, you know, not, you know, cutting any corners or going outside of, you know, what is acceptable Islamically. And I also made sure with the books, one of the points that I made sure was that the books were international, because so many of the books, you know, that would be produced, you know, they were always, the kids would be white kids, you know, because this is what people were used to. So when they tried to do Islamic books, they were all using white people. But say, hey, you know, most of the world are not white people, you know. So we need to have some Chinese, we need to have some Malaysians, we need to have some African.
Ya Sheikh Bilal, Habibi, my dear brother, I've been always wondering, where do you find the time? MashaAllah. First of all, let me say, Allahumma barik. May Allah bless you and your family, and bless you in your time, in your health, and in your memory. But where do you find the time to do all of that? I'm going to be talking about Islamic University shortly, inshallah. But for now, I remember last time we were together in Nairobi, and you said, MashaAllah, I just received my number 20 plus a child, MashaAllah. So how do you manage? First of all, how many kids do you have now?
Well, currently I have 23 children.
Allahu Akbar, MashaAllah, la quwwata illa billah. 23.
Takafaru. That's what the Prophet said. You know, فَإِنِّي مُبَاهِنٌ بِكُمْ بَيْنَ الْأُمَمِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. So, you know, Prophet said, get married and have lots of kids. You know, inshallah. So, and for me, you know, when I look at it, you see, it's for my family. You know, I am the Philips family.
yeah,
represent the Muslim of the Philips clan
yeah.
from Jamaica. So Alhamdulillah, this family is plentiful. We have so many members, and this is also helps in promoting Islam, in Jamaica
But
amongst my
I
relatives,
don't
etc.
think anyone in your family, in the Phillips family, has beaten you. You have become a clan by yourself, you and your family, mashallah.
Yeah, this is the Phillips clan
Uh,
of the Phillips tribe from Jamaica.
so, how old is the youngest?
The youngest is 2 months, two months and a few weeks.
MashaAllah, congratulations. بورك
That
في
is
boy or a girl?
Hamad.
Boy or
His
a
name
girl?
is Hamad. Hamad. His name is Hamad, a boy.
حمد حمد ما شاء الله بورك
Hamad.
في الموهوب وشكرت الواهب وبلغ أشده ورزقت بره. You know, in
Alhamdulillah.
the lockdown situation, there is a system they call it delivery, so you can deliver the aqiqah to us.
Mm. Well, we did the aqiqah, in fact, here in Ethiopia. So
You're
alhamdulillah,
currently in Addis.
in Addis, yes.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Anyway, congratulations, and you owe me aqiqah. Inshallah, when this is all over, inshallah, I'll be visiting you for a special aqiqah. So,
Inshallah.
mashallah, I mean, Sheikh Bilal, to be honest with you, sometimes if I want something from any of my kids, I call on the names of almost all of them to get to the one whom I wanted to call. Does this happen to you sometimes? Like, you want to call one of them, you end up calling 10, 15 names?
Rarely, rarely.
MashaAllah,
It's not common. I mean, I don't have that much trouble, remembering their name.
MashaAllah. Do you work out?
Yeah, I'm doing Tai Chi as a regular, workout for myself, along with some basic exercises, which,
Like, how much time every day do you work out normally? This not for
well,
the viewers, this is for myself now.
hmm, well, the norm is about half an hour, um, between uh, the regular physical stretches and sit-ups and those types of things, and then the Tai Chi I spend half of the time with that.
Okay. So I asked about the age of the youngest, and you said the Hamad is 2 months, and the oldest is she Amina? Because you're most known of
Yeah,
Abu Amina. Amina, right?
that's my firstborn. Yes, she's about 48 now.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Allahumma barik, Allahumma barik. Working hard day and night, trying to leave a heritage to benefit the Ummah. I know you already know, but I just wanted to share with you. This is an amazing, continuous charity, mashallah. May Allah accept from you, Habibi.
Ameen.
Um, you know, I always wanted to know what does it take for a person who is a non-Arab, have accepted Islam, to learn Arabic and to become fluent in Arabic. Because for the viewers, when I speak to Bilal Philips, like myself and him, I don't talk to him in English. We speak in Arabic because I find it much more easier to communicate with him in Arabic. He speaks fluent Arabic, mashallah, la quwwata illa billah. Whether the Al-Fusha, the classical Arabic, the language of the Quran, or even the slang. So how long did it take you to learn Arabic, and when did you achieve that?
Well, after accepting Islam, I learned the basics of Quranic reading and tajweed, etc., within the first year of my Islam. And after that, I started to learn Arabic using English books with, easy Arabic or whatever, teaching you. So I started that process. Then I got accepted to study along with Dr. Abdullah Hakim Quick in Medina. We went to Medina together. And I should mention, because the fadl is with Abdullah, that he was one of the people who gave me shahada.
I was waiting to hear that. I was waiting for this statement.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah.
Yes.
MashaAllah.
So we went. That's back in about 1974, and of course, there at the university, you have a mahad or institute, which is for Arabic for non-Arabic speakers. I spent a year in that, and then went into to university and living in Medina, living in an Arabic environment, because I didn't live on campus also. I lived in the city, so everybody around me was Arabic speaking. So you had to pick up Arabic quickly to be able to survive. So, I could say by the time I graduated, that's 4 years later, bachelor's in Islamic studies from the College of Usuluddin or General Islamic Studies, that I was fluent at that point. I was able to communicate easily enough. But what happened for me though is that after studying in Arabic in Medina, and I went to Riyadh to do my master's in King Saud University. I got involved in English now. I joined the international school, Manarat al Riyadh, and developing the curriculum in English. And so everything was now shifted back into English, even though I was attending classes in Arabic in courses, in university, but English increased. And then I got involved in Dawah, so the English became even more and more because Dawah to Filipinos, who mostly in Riyadh were Filipino, and other nationalities. Mostly English was the means of communication. So the English became greater and greater, and writing also, writing for English audiences, trying to transfer that knowledge that I got from the Arabic sources in Medina and in Riyadh, and to transfer that now into English so that English speakers would be able to benefit from it. This made the English still very dominant, with me. Some people I know who went and studied in Arabic and spent, that kind of time, their English became weak and they couldn't even speak properly.
Sheikh Bilal, I wasn't planning to ask you this question. It wasn't in my mind, but you just brought it to my attention. You are a Canadian citizen, correct?
Yeah, born in Jamaica, but grew up
Born
in
in
Canada.
Jamaica. You grew up in Canada. It just happened that during the first Gulf War, you were in the area, and I did not discuss this with you before, even in our private gatherings, but a general said that you were somehow either deployed or requested by the army to give da'wah, and a lot of American soldiers, uh, I believe in Half al-Batin, in that area, have accepted Islam through you, mashallah. If you want to share with us anything about this period of time, I will appreciate that.
Yeah, this was 1991, 92. This was the time of the first Gulf War. And alhamdulillah, there was a Saudi corporal or sergeant who had been trying to give dawah to the American troops that he was stationed with. And but his English was very weak. So, he was reaching out, trying to find somebody who could support him and help him. So he made contact with me. Somebody directed him eventually to me. I was in Riyadh there. So he invited me out. And so I went out and stayed out there with him and began the process of giving dawah to American troops that were there. And especially the war didn't last very long. So most of the dawah took place after the war was over. The troops had to be processed. It wasn't Hafr al-Batin, it was in Dammam, the Dammam area, right? So Eastern province.
Well,
So
has told me a huge number of American.
yeah, the total that accepted Islam from our base where we were based in, and most of the dawah was being done in the what they call Khobar Towers. It was in Khobar Towers. We from our base there over 3,000 accepted Islam in 5 months, in a period of 5 months.
And that, of course, did not please the American administration big time.
Well, that made me public enemy number one from that time till today.
Well, you didn't go to them, to the States. They came to you, so they accepted Islam. Over 3,000 American soldiers, only
Yes,
in one
mashallah.
base, brothers and sisters, only on one base. And through the effort, by the grace of Allah, Dr. Bilal Philips and those who were with him,
We
we,
had a team. I will not say this is all me.
that's why I said,
We set up a team there. I invited some of my good friends from different parts who were working in Saudi Arabia, etc., to come out and join me. And we had about maybe about six of us that were engaged full time. We lived in Riyadh mainly. We came out and went back and took turns. And I more or less I was the main presenter, but everybody else shared in, and we had some people from the States, people from the UK, people from uh, Lebanon,
but
you know.
Dr. Bilal, during this time, you were not a military personnel. You never put on the uniform. You were not handed over a pistol or a machine gun or a grenade. You were just a da'i, an imam, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Why these guys got so upset and they made you like a number one public enemy, even though we in the States, in Canada, in Europe, we speak about the freedom of choice. So they have literally hundreds of thousands of missionaries, Christian missionaries, who travel across the globe in order to convert people to Christianity. So this is perfectly fine and acceptable for them. And when a person, one single person, and a small team along with him, giving da'wah to the American troops, and over 3,000 between soldiers and officers accept Islam, it shouldn't upset them. I mean, that's exercising the freedom of choice.
well, maybe initially it didn't, because you see, this was even with the recommendation and support of the military top personnel, the generals, etc., who were there. They encouraged us because they had, how many troops they brought into the country? About 500,000 troops. They had to process them back out of the country. The war was over. And how do you keep these troops busy? Normally in Korea, or in Philippines or in Thailand, they can let them go out and enjoy clubbing, but none of this was available in Saudi Arabia. So they were afraid that these troops now, with nothing to do, would create problems,
Yeah.
or anything which could divert them. And of course, it wasn't done in the name of we are giving da'wah to American troops. No, this the name of our tent, the main tent we had there was called the Saudi Arabian Cultural Information Tent.
Yes.
So the focus was on Saudi culture. So we had many books available on Saudi culture and the desert and the plants and the animals and all of these other things. So we presented an open opportunity for the troops to find out about Saudi Arabia, because they came and they thought this was just a place of camel jockeys, and then they saw these buildings and so they were quite shocked. It was quite a shock.
Dr. Bilal, you don't know about that, but I was a chaplain in the American prisons for more than a decade. And subhanallah, they used to hand over, the wardens would hand certificates to me and letters of appreciation, the effort of making some of the very violent inmates very calm, very polite when they accept Islam. But when the numbers started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and now the Muslim community in many prisons, including some serial killers accepting Islam, learning, memorizing Quran and praying on regular basis, they said, wait a minute, that's it. We gotta put a stop to that. So I think your situation, it started as, yes, you're offering us a service, taking care of our people in a way that we cannot do it. But it just crossed the level of mere entertaining them and keeping them busy and taming those who are kind of wild to become Muslims, then we have to put a stop to that. I'm sorry I didn't mean to take you into this area, but in
No,
the
but it's an important area that people understand, what was going on in those times. And actually, what came from it, which made it most notable, is that these troops that had come became Muslims and went back. Many of them left the military, but many of them stayed in the military afterwards. And then they started to demand their rights as Muslims in the military.
Mm.
They formed an organization called Muslim Members of the Military, MMM. And I was involved with them also. They put out a magazine, and they demanded their rights until, alhamdulillah, they got they got masjids, or we could say musallas, set up in all American bases,
Allahu Akbar. And
in the
imams,
Army,
and
in the
appointed
Navy,
imams.
in the Air Force, the Marines, they all have. It's a requirement now. And also even Muslim chaplains, because before that there were none.
Mm.
This is the great good that came out of that. They obliged them to get Muslim chaplains, and alhamdulillah, brothers qualified themselves, went in, and now we have Muslim chaplains, for all of the various bases across the
Habibi,
world.
Habibi Abu Amina, may Allah bless you. I have a very big question for you, which is about the Islamic Online University. But I also know that there is only 3 minutes left for Maghrib, your time and Mecca time to break your fast. So it is your choice. And also, I have to be kind of nice to you and say, I don't mind at all if we conclude now so you can break your fast with the family, especially with Hamad, okay, the newborn. Then, inshallah, we can have another live interview next week, same time, inshallah, but it will be dedicated to address the university effort and how did it start, the number of the students, the subjects that you serve, and it's a huge subject. I'm really interested to learn more in depth about the university. So it's your choice. If you're interested to resume right now, that's perfectly fine with me, and you still can grab a date or two to break your fast with. If you want to postpone it to next week, we'll be happy as well to host you again.
Well, it depends on the time that's available on your side. How much time have you set aside? How much longer you can
How much
continue?
time can you give us? How much time can you give us?
Well, right now, alhamdulillah, my early programs, I've done them that were needed for earlier today. So
Your iftar time.
I'm free. Hmm?
How much time till iftar? Your time.
Well, iftar is coming up. The adhan should be coming up now.
Okay.
So
Then I
uh,
would say, inshallah, we'll let you break your fast with a promise. Inshallah, Monday we'll be talking about the university and your effort in putting together I would say, the pioneer Islamic online or distant learning platform. Is that all right with you?
sounds fine. Sounds good.
I pray
We
that
had a few hiccups in getting things going, but inshallah, it went well.
yes.
Inshallah. Hope the viewers benefited, inshallah, from
Yes,
it.
of course. I see the comments and the remarks in front of me, and perhaps next time, inshallah, I'll give the viewers a chance to call you live on air. We're holding the phone calls, otherwise it will go crazy. A lot of people want to talk to you and ask you direct questions. Hopefully, inshallah, next time we'll give them this opportunity. Abu Amina, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. تقبل الله منا ومنكم صومنا وصومكم وسائر طاعاتكم وأسأل الله أن يغفر لنا ولكم. I really appreciating. I really appreciate taking some of your precious time to be with me today to discuss some even of the very personal matters and family matters, because the viewers wanted to learn about the shuyukh and their personal life as well. To be continued, inshallah, next week, same time next week, inshallah, after Ask
Inshallah.
with Dr. Bilal Philips. Thank you so much. Jazakallahu khairan, Dr. Bilal.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair, and thank you for inviting me on, sharing this with your viewers. And inshallah, we hope to be back with you again next week.
Barakallah fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaykum
Include us
salam.
in your dua at the time of iftar, Dr. Bilal, please.
Inshallah. May Allah accept our fasts and our prayers this month, and يبلغنا
الجنة.
ليلة القدر, that we catch that. We have much more opportunities now, and that He gives us Eid Saeed, and inshallah, good health, and a new world to work with, inshallah, for the sake of Allah.
آمين.
بارك.
وصلى الله على
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. في أمان الكريم.